Yum. It smells like lemon candy. Like a lemon Jolly Rancher. Oh. Okay, immediately after smelling the lemon basil, I felt like I needed a little treat. I forgot I had these. I'm glad I do. These are like for your throat, you know, when you have a sore throat. They're herbal. I don't know exactly what's in it, but they're very lemony. Lemony and herbal, which is exactly what this is. Okay, I could smell that all day. Okay, you're supposed to suck on it, but I just scarfed it down, so I didn't have to have it in my mouth. Today, I just wanted to make a quick video of some of the things that I am cutting the tops off of. And it's a lot of herbs, so there's a few different reasons why you would want to pinch the top off of your plant. One is you want to make the plant bushier and sturdier so that they don't get toppled over by wind and weather. You know, you don't have to worry about them breaking and totally dying off as easily. It also creates more like growth shoots that, so if you cut the top off, it'll send all of that you know, that growth hormone, the signal to grow to the side shoots, and you'll just get more at once, more growing at once. So it's a little bit more productive per plant in that way. For herbs and other like foliage bushy plants, you'll just get more shoots. And for flowers, you can get multiple. If it's the right type of flower, you can just get more blooms. Sometimes it does delay when you'll get your first blooms, but typically it's not by a lot. And I'm starting all of my seedlings indoors quite early, so they have time to grow a bit. They're getting a head start anyways. And a third reason why you'd want to cut off the top of your plant is to propagate it. So to make a whole new plant from the old one, and still, so you have two plants then, the top part and the bottom part, that will still continue to grow, still create like more side branches. And the top part of the plant can start to grow roots and become its own separate plant. And that'll be useful if you didn't start enough seed, for example, or if you're honestly buying a seedling from a grocery store or from like a different place. If you didn't start it yourself and you don't want to spend so much, you can honestly buy that and then propagate whatever you're getting. So I wanted to show you a few examples of what plants, what seedlings I'm using to do this with, what I'm propagating, what I already have propagated, different ways that you could do that, and some of the different plants that you can cut off the top so that it can branch and become a little bit more productive too. Because I am learning some new things this year. I'm going to be trying it on a few more flowers than I have in the past. I have Snapdragons here. This is like a classic of something that you'd want to pinch. I always just do half of it so that I can get like a first flush of flowers as early as I can for all the plants that I don't cut off the top of. And then for the rest of the plants, they'll become more productive, but they'll bloom a little bit later. Okay, so making the cut. Where you want to make the cut is just above a pair of leaves. A pair of true leaves. Don't count like the first couple of leaves that come out after the seed starts. And it can honestly be at any pair of leaves, and just like at every junction below where you cut, it's going to encourage more side growth. Sometimes there already is like side branches growing out of those junctions. But if they're not there, they will appear. This is one of my Zata plants that I started growing earlier this year. These are particularly leggy. I don't know if it's because it's the variety or if it's just that I didn't have them under great light. but I think they will do really well from me trimming. And they'll become a lot sturdier. These are kind of flimsy. I just like pulled it apart and separated some and just was worried that I'd break them. So as they get like older, they'll get a little bit stronger. As I trim them down, the stalks will get a little bit woodier. These are tender perennials, so if you live in a warm climate, they're perennials, and the older parts, they just get like more sturdy and woodier like the longer you have them. But for now, mine's like trailing a lot. I want to keep it a little bit tighter, a little bit neater, so that it doesn't break apart when I'm moving them around. I'm gonna cut that there. I am cutting pretty aggressively just because I want it to be neater. And then I will save these cuttings for just in a little bit, but let me show you where else I cut on different types of plants. So this was my za'atar, which is like an oregano, kind of an oregano a thyme kind of thing. Here are some of the German winter thyme plants I have. They're very, floppy. I just pulled them apart. These were together in their own cell. But you can see they're very floppy. I wanna encourage them to branch out more so that they'll kind of stay upright. They already have a bunch of branches from the side. So I'm gonna be quite, drastic. Maybe take this whole thing out. Again, saving this to propagate. Same here, gonna be quite aggressive. You can see on this one, like you can see the side shoots more clearly. I'm gonna cut right here, and there's already a couple of side branches coming out of that junction. I also have basil, the lemon basil. So good. Every time I pass by this, I have to like touch it and smell it. And it's the same thing. So for this plant, for example, just gonna be over the leaf and the leaf junction, cut that there. Little piece up top. It's gonna grow a bit bushier. Take another one off. Okay, a decent amount. And you can take these and you can use them as basil if you're cooking or whatever. I am gonna try and propagate some of these. Okay, another example are flowers that you want to do. So these are snapdragons. A lot of people always cut their snapdragons. I tend to only do a few just so I can get earlier blooms. These are kind of leggy. I definitely need to repot them or pot them up. I'll do that right after this. But same thing, you want to just go in above a set of true leaves. Here, for example, you already have like pairs of leaves coming out. Yeah, right there. So I'm gonna cut it right above those. And those are gonna become like more dominant and they'll start growing faster. Okay, some other plants that I haven't really done before, but I think I might try is cosmos. So I have some cosmos growing here. They're kind of leggy. My lighting situation wasn't the best this year. I'm just gonna cut off the tops of like maybe one or two of my zinnias. The ones that are bigger, I don't want to stunt their growth too much. It will delay their blooms a little bit. Darn, there's really not a lot of leaves. I kind of want to take it off here and, okay, I'm just gonna do this one, see how it goes. And I'm gonna replant this top and see if it, does well enough. It doesn't have a lot of space, but hopefully I can get some roots to grow out of that. And if it works well, if it doesn't kill this plant, it's only got like a few small leaves, hopefully that's enough. And if it this one roots. I think I'll try it again for some of the other ones that I have. And also marigolds. So here's like a dwarf marigold that I started, and I only got 2 seeds to germinate out of the whole packet. So I kind of want to propagate another one and propagate it from a cutting. So I might cut this off and try and propagate it as well. In fact, I'll do it just now. So I'm gonna cut this one off right here. I'll leave 1 set of true leaves, which is not a lot, but okay, now for what to do with all of your cuttings. You don't have to do anything with them. You can just, if you're cutting the tops off just to let your plants become more bushy and sturdier, then you're fine. You can throw these in the compost. You can use the herbs, the top of the herbs that you have. But if you want to propagate them, there's a couple of different ways that you could do that. My favorite way to do it is just to dip the end. Let's do this marigold that I just cut off. To dip the end, the stem end that you just cut, in some rooting hormone powder, and then put it in soil and make sure that soil stays moist, it doesn't dry out, and then hopefully it'll grow roots and it can sustain itself as its own plant. So I have my old little container of rooting hormone. The reason it's chewed up like this is because my dog did it. Nothing weird, strange happened with him, of course. I don't think it's adjustable at all for anybody to ingest this, your pets or yourself, but he's okay. So I dipped the end in some powder. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put it into the same pot. Try not to get too on the edge so that like everything around the stem end stays moist and it doesn't dry out. Okay, so I just pushed it into the soil there, packed some soil around it, and then I will check up on that in maybe a couple of weeks and see how well it rooted. Gonna do it again for this Cosmos top. Just gonna shove it into the cell that was already in. And for these longer Zata stems, I think I am gonna cut off like the bottom couple of leaves. Just pulled those off to make a longer stem. Gonna dip that whole thing in the powder. And then just stick that into cover it up. I'm gonna go ahead and water it in. Another way that you can propagate those cuttings are by keeping them in water, so water propagation. I had a couple of cuttings from a few weeks ago that I just kept in this like extra jar of water. I have some of the German winter time and I have a lot of the Zata, and let me just show you how well this works. I don't know if you can see. This is the time. It's a little bit like I just took this cutting a couple of weeks ago. Let me see. You can see it against the purple of my shirt better maybe. A bunch of roots on this Zata cutting that I'll just go ahead and also put into soil now that like it's got a decent amount of roots. So the leaves are really healthy on this. It grew really well, but it's gonna grow even better once I put this back into the soil. So I'm just gonna push and make sure all those roots get buried under, then cover it up. There, this is what I just put in. So the only thing with this method of propagation that you want to look out for is just the transplant shock that your plant might experience once you move it from where its roots were growing in just like straight water to any growing medium, any potting mix. What I would do to reduce that transplant shock is just make sure you keep the potting mix you transplanted into extra wet, just so it's less of a like huge contrast in what those new roots are used to. But if you're doing it this way, you can truly just like put all of your cuttings into water and you'll just have so many. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of these Snapdragon cuttings in the water and see if they root. Just because I have so many Snapdragons, I don't necessarily need any extra plants of it. So I'm not really looking to propagate it, but I just want to see how well it does. I wish I had a little bit of a smaller container. Oh, some other plants that you can cut the top off of that might do well for you is peppers and even tomatoes. Some people like to grow tomatoes on two like leader stems and nothing else, and they'll always like cut off all the extra suckers that come out of the sides. Like basically all of the side shoots they'll take off except for two, and they make the two lead branches start like pretty early. And the same with peppers is you can have like 2 or 3 lead ones and you can start pinching them early and to get it to have more of that bushy shape. I don't have a long or particularly hot growing season, so I'm not going to do them to my peppers, but just something to think of. If you have a longer growing season, if you want to get a little bit more out of each plant, if you have a long enough growing season, you can allow it to branch out and hopefully produce more. My peppers, by the way, are doing super well. I've got to repot them as well. I've got to uppot them. That's like the story of everything, all of my seedlings right now. They need bigger containers and they need more space. Thankfully, things are looking pretty warm in the forecast, so I'm gonna take my stock seedlings out and plant them in the ground in the hoop house. And then I think my Snapdragons, a lot of these cold hardy things, even these like herbs, these perennial herbs that are a little bit more cold hardy, I'll move them to stay in the hoop house like indefinitely, and they'll stay there from now on, and I'll have more space indoors. I'll pot up my peppers and tomatoes, give them a little bit more space to grow a bit bigger. Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video and show you everything that I was cutting, all of my seedlings that I was cutting. Oh. Another thing that I just learned this year, I just figured I would share. So I started shallots from seed and green onions. And what you want to do with all of your like onion seedlings, leeks too, anything that grows straight up like this, is give them a little haircut so that they don't flop over, so that they stay a bit stronger. I'll go ahead and do that. I think you can leave them at like 4 or 5 inches. I'm probably going a little extra hard on this trimming. But what I don't want is for these to fall over and break, because that will really hinder the development of your seedlings. You want these to grow like big and strong. So chopping them off will help them to become a little bit thicker. And yeah, not get so long and weak and just like flop over. Okay, now that's really all. I'm done with this video. I've got a lot more chores to do, a lot of potting up, a lot of, and then planting out my stock again. I'll show you in the next video, but thanks for watching. Did you get to come? Do you like it? Does that smell nice? I don't know if he likes it so much. Actually, I think dogs don't truly like the smell of citrus. Hey, touch. No, he doesn't like it. Putting his head away. Okay, I figured I'd try, because I love smelling my herbs. I love touching them. I love smelling them, like, oh.